It is now time to start, so yay! Welcome, everybody. I want to just thank you for being here. I know that at the end of the day, we're at 6 o'clock here in Las Vegas, but those of you in the Midwest are already at 8 o'clock, and anybody who joins us from the East Coast, it's already 9 o'clock. So you've had a full day already doing your life. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate the fact that you are here and joining us, because there's lots of choices for your time. So we all are honored to have you here with us tonight. You'll find that the contact information for each of the speakers is up in the chat box in the top, and you can just scroll down to find them. Each of them is going to have a little free something free. As I said, this is a sales-free zone, so nobody's selling you anything tonight. But they do have a free something for you. I don't know what it is yet. I'll find out when you do. But you'll be able to get your free whatever when you contact the contact information that is over on the chat box. Okay, so I see Yolanda and Holly and Karen and who else here? And Cindy. Hi, Cindy. And Cheryl, as I said, and Jill. Okay, so I'm going to, here is the order of the speakers. Lynne is going to be first. Lisa will be second. Missy is third, and Cathy will be the fourth speaker. You'll be hearing from me just kind of periodically as we go along. And, but before we get into it, I'd like each of them to introduce themselves with their basic 1 minute, so you have a little idea of who they are before we get into their speaking time. So, that being said, Lynne, would you lead us off, please?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Lynne Franklin, and what I do is I work with leaders and teams on better communication. I'm a neuroscience nerd, so I study how the brain works. And once I have that information, I help people develop messages that other people actually want to listen to and create lasting change.
Oh, that is great. I call Lynne my brainiac friend. And that is a compliment, Lynne. You know that, because you know I love you. But she's just awesome. Lynne and I met about, I think it's been 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's just been great. We kind of mastermind together. So I'm excited for her to share with you a little bit later on. Okay, Lisa, how about you? You want to fill us in for you and let me, okay, I think you're unmuted.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Lisa Frederickson, and I'm a marketing and business consultant. I focus a lot on social media marketing, and especially Facebook group development and Facebook pages and advertising. I also enjoy teaching productivity and time management, and I'm working on a workshop right now called Become a Time Lord, a productivity mindset workshop. And that's been a lot of fun, and that's one of the little pieces that you'll hear tonight. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell, and I'll give it back to you.
Okay, and Lisa, as y'all probably noticed, has been helping to administrate our community group, and which has been great. And she does some of those really cool graphics, which is part of her marketing side. I found she has many facets of her personality. So probably 90% of those things you're saying are coming from Lisa. So I appreciate that in her very much. So she has multi-talents like all of you do. Okay, Missy, how about you? Let's make sure I get you unmuted here. There you go.
Thank you, Delinda. I'm Missy Day, and I own Passion for Success, and I help small and large business owners just get past being stuck and paralyzed so they can live the life they've imagined, doing what they love with great success. And I also do corporate training. I still want to keep my feet in the water for that. I miss corporate training when I'm not doing it. So helping corporate businesses lead by example, better communication. And I just want to mention one thing about the Zoom screen. In the top right-hand corner, you can either do speaker view or you can choose to do gallery view. So if you want to see all the ladies' faces, then go up to the right and click gallery view so you can see everyone. Otherwise, you're just going to see who's speaking.
Great info. Thanks, Missy.
You're welcome.
That is great. I love it when we learn new things, right? I've seen that and I've clicked it before, but I couldn't get it to quite do. Maybe I never had more than like 3 people at a time or 4. And so they all always would fit across the top. So yeah, that's great information. Thank you very much. And so Cheryl, I hope, okay, I see a little note from Cheryl saying, so not prepared, LOL. You were great to answer your question. I mean, I put you on the spot, but that's all you have. That's all the talking you have to do for the night. You know, that can be a real scary thing. Like, what? I didn't sign up for that, right? So anyway, you did great, Cheryl. So yay you for going with it anyway. So I appreciate that. Okay, Miss Cathy. I'll tell you. Yes, there you are. So go here.
As I tell everybody, I am Cathy Weaver, and I am a DeLinda Lane groupie. And I follow this lady around all her social media platforms. I actually am a Kangen Water representative. And because of my business 10 years ago, I wrote a book called Networking on Steroids. And due to DeLinda's amazing coaching, I was encouraged to write my second book, which is called He Hit the Clouds Running and Never Looked Back. And so I really do. I am a DeLinda Lane groupie. Your ears must have been burning today, by the way, because your name came up. We'll talk about that later, but one of my friends that I have known for literally 45-ish years might need your services. So I am super excited to connect people, and you are one of the rock stars I love to connect.
Oh, you are so sweet. And Cathy truly does not miss anything in Kansas City. I mean, I think I now hold 7 meetings a week, and she's at just about every one of them. Bless her heart. I said, aren't you tired of me yet?
No, that will never happen.
Anyway, she does have a great wealth, great networking tips that she can give you, and she calls it her toolbox. So you'll be hearing some about that tonight as well. And then we kind of segued a minute, and I didn't get to follow up about Missy. Just want you all to know she is just wonderful. She has such a great heart. She knows so much about business, and she can really, she just really blesses my life. And the truth is, if it weren't for a couple, actually Jill Branson, who's on here, and Missy, I might not even be holding the Fun Fearless Lunch here in Las Vegas. They both really encouraged me to do that. So I really appreciate that. So these are awesome women that you're going to hear from tonight. And if you want to make any comments on the side, I'll be watching those. So I think, Lynne, if you are ready, we're going to just let you jump right in and do your thing. I'm going to unmute you, and I'm going to mute everybody else. I'm getting some kind of other sounds. So I'm going to go make sure I've got everybody muted except for Lynne. And Lynne, because I know how it goes, I'm setting my timer. So go.
Okay. You already heard I'm a neuroscience nerd. I study how the brain works, and then I use that information to create persuasive communications for my clients and train them on how to do a better job of delivering it. But one of the great things that I've learned from studying the brain is why business storytelling is the best way that you can use to create connection between you and pretty much anybody. And why it works, let me spend a couple minutes on that. You know, if we were to do the timeline of, 100,000 years ago, people began to use stories to share knowledge. 27,000 years ago, people began to share knowledge through cave paintings. Only 3,000 years ago did we start sharing information through written text. And if you really want to joke, 28 years ago, PowerPoint was invented. So storytelling is genetic for us. Our brains have worked that way for a really long time. And I used to have a high school teacher who said, to know something, you need to know something. And to know why storytelling works, you need to know a little bit of neuroscience. And I'm not going to be too heady here, just something that's really interesting. There are technically 3 parts of your brain. First, there's your survival brain, where you basically have 3 choices of fight, flight, or freeze. Then there's your emotional brain, which houses all of your emotions: mad, sad, glad, hurt, and afraid. And frankly, all the permutations in between. And also in your emotional brain, that's actually pen and ask you, which pen do you want? If you had an injured emotional brain, you wouldn't be able to pick. And the final part of your brain is the human brain, which is the place where you make all of your plans and all of your higher analytical powers. And we think we make decisions in our analytical brain, but we're full of crap. because we make decisions emotionally, and then we back and fill with all the reasons why we decided to do something. Running a race, and I were to say, I'm standing at the starting line, and it's a hot day, and I'm nervous and twitchy, and I can feel the sweat on my upper lip and the sun coming down on my head, and I can feel the body heat of all the people around me, and and we're flexing, and we're waiting for the starting gun, and we hear it, and we're off, and now we're starting to run, and I can feel my feet falling on the ground. And here's the cool thing. Firing as though I'm actually running the race. Okay, so interesting. But the really cool thing is what's going on in your brain when I'm saying these things. Technically, your motor cortex is also lighting up as though you are running the race with me. So when I tell you a good story, our brains are in sync. It's like we're running together. It's like we're on this journey together. And what happens is, because we're on this journey and our brains are syncing, I've bypassed that entirely. I'm speaking right to your emotional brain, and that's where you make decisions. So I've bypassed a lot of the reasons, the resistance that you'll put up. That's why storytelling works. It appeals to the emotional part of our brain where we actually make decisions, and it bypasses resistance. So now that you know this, now you know why storytelling works. Most of us we blow it. Most of us tell stories because we want people to like intentional about the types of stories that you tell. You'll be thinking, what is it that I want to create here? And it's usually some kind of connection. So it may be a connection in a job interview. It may be a connection for a new business. It may be a connection for people on your team. But now you'll understand that if I want people to work with me and identify with me and see me as a good person, I need to tell a story. And there are 6 I always like to give people credit. These strategic stories come from a woman by the name of Annette Simmons, who wrote a book called Whoever Tells the Best Story Wins. I love her ideas. I hate her book. So what I've done is I've pulled all the good stuff and narrowed it down for you. Don't bother buying her book. Just listen to what I have to say. The first type of story is called a who I am story. And you tell a who I am story for this reason. You want to break down preconceived notions or mistake that you've made, which makes you look human and approachable. So a who I am story that I frequently tell is about a boy named Fred, who's standing 3 feet away from me. And in this moment, I can't tell you anything about how Fred looks, because all I can see is that he is holding the world's largest machete. If you try to call for help, I'm going to cut you. I am the only adult in a boys' group home. Fred ran away a few days. Anything I have to say. And in the hallway behind Fred, there are boys who are fizzing with nerves because Fred might knife me. And there's one kid who even says, "Fred, my man, gonna cut staff to the bone." And it's at that point that Fred brings the knife down and he chops the cord on the phone I was using to call for help. I am all alone, and I have just lost my mind. All I can think of to do is babble. But Fred, you like me, and you don't want to hurt me. And there's nothing in how Fred's looking at me that says he's agreed with any of this. And somehow I know it's my chance. So I stick my hand out and I say, Fred, make it easy on yourself. Just hand me the knife. And I'm not quite sure what Fred's going to do. And I'm scared to death he's going to bring the knife down and chop my hand. But I know I have to keep my hand out there so that I can prove to Fred that I think he's a good kid so he can act like one. I can't tell you how long I stood there sweating through everything I had on. Fred finally took a deep breath and handed me the knife. And that has become the litmus test for my job. I was in way over my head and got really lucky. So that shows you, this is a mistake that I've made, which makes me human and approachable. That's a who I am story. Another type of story you can tell, second type, is the why I'm here story. And the reason you tell this is to replace suspicion with trust and show that you don't have a hidden agenda. And you use these stories to show you're a good person so you're making a lesson clear to help people remember why they're doing something. And a pretty famous teaching story, how many of you have heard the boy who cried wolf story? Right. So the kid's on the mountainside, he's with the sheep, he gets bored, he runs down the hill and says, there's a wolf. All the villagers come up. There's no wolf. They peevishly go back to their village. And because he's bored, he does it again. And then, of course, the third time a wolf actually shows up. You still remember it. So that's a teaching story, sharing an idea in a memorable way. Then there are vision stories, and we use vision stories to inspire hope. So the idea is to stimulate action and raise morale by reminding people why they're working together. And we have values in action story, which explains what an intangible value really means. So for example, if I were to say, I believe in integrity, you probably believe in integrity too, but what does story? And what you do is you show respect for somebody else's viewpoint while sharing your own. And this is great for business because you can recognize somebody's objection and then show why those objections don't apply. So a quick story on that. Let's say you are a salesperson in a children's shoe store and you see a mother with a young teenage daughter, and the teenage daughter has fallen in love with this pair of shoes. And you can see the mother's looking at the price tag and she's going, and so you as a shoe salesperson come over and say, it's our store's policy that if your child does not wear her shoes within a week for any reason, you can bring them back and exchange them. So if you're worried about spending money and not having your daughter wear the shoes, not an issue. And I'm sure in all of your businesses, you can figure out those kinds of stories as well. So here's the idea. These are 6 stories that business situation. And I always say, go in knowing at least one story you can tell that's going to help you reach your business goal. It could be a who I am, a why I'm here, a teaching, a vision, a values in action, or I know what you're thinking story. So just start collecting these stories. And then when you're in a business situation, pull out the one you think is going to help you do a better job creating connection with the person or people you're speaking with. Because once again, what you're doing when you tell a story is you're bypassing all
I have to unmute myself. Boy, you are perfect. You must have had your timer on.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
My timer just went off. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I did have one question myself. If anybody has a question, we have a couple of minutes here that Lynne can address. I missed what you called the first part of the brain. I got the emotional and the human, but what was the name of the first one?
The first part of the brain, the oldest part, is called the survival brain.
I'm going to look over here. You guys can do a question on the chat, and then Lynne can answer it for you if you have a question for her.
And tell you what, I know there was a lot of information that I shared with you there. So tell you what, my freebie is going to be a succinct outline of all the good stuff I covered.
Oh, that's great.
That way, you know, if you didn't catch all the notes and if there was something that was interesting to you, I'll just make this simple for you. And I'll talk in a little bonus.
Place where somebody would hold a machete up to me. That's unbelievable. So it definitely shows how a story can make an impact. So great, and great information. I really appreciate that. And so y'all can see Lynne's information. She has it listed, I think, up here. Yeah, it's up here in that front part of the chat. All right. So great. Thanks, Lynne. Woo!
Yeah, so go out there and tell a better
Will it have the 3 parts of the brain and then the flight, fright, whatever that was? I wrote it down, but I can't read my writing.
fight, flight, or freeze, right. So I'll probably share a little bit more information on the neuroscience stuff too. Yeah, I'll give you a little bonus information beyond what I covered, but it'll be, you know, if in case you didn't catch everything or you want some additional information, let's just make it easy on you.
You're awesome. Thanks, Lynne. Appreciate it. Okay, so next we have Lisa Frederickson, who's going to be sharing with us. So I'm going to go here and unmute Lisa. So Lisa, I would say you ready, set, go.
Good. Well, I'm so glad she said that stories are great, because I'm going to start with a story. So during the Las Vegas housing boom, my husband held a position in our church called the about 200 families, of which half lived in 2 large apartment buildings. And consequently, there always seemed to be one family moving in or out of our district. And at the time, Paul was getting his master's and working a full-time job. So he would look at me to make the necessary phone calls. And as you might imagine, no one was eager to get a call from me yet again to move another family in or out. On this Saturday, we all had a small family of 3 to move into the Smoke Ranch community. So as in previous weeks, I started calling brethren to fill the volunteer slots. Well, 20 calls later, I still didn't have anyone scheduled to help, and frustrated, I devised a clever plan and made another call. Upon answering the phone and hearing my voice, Brother Johnson sighed on cue. Before I had the chance to ask him anything, Brother Johnson was reassuringly listing his busy and impossible schedule. Interrupting, I swiftly soothed his concerns, letting him know that I was seeking someone who could use our tickets for a concert this Saturday morning that we couldn't attend. Oh, he said in a solemn voice. Recovering, he explained with renewed enthusiasm that he'd have to move a few things around, but sure, he'd be have the tickets, but we did have a wonderful family who needed his help moving. And now that I knew he could make it, I'd put him down for Saturday morning. Now, normally, he would have been upset with such a blatant bait and switch. But his conscience knew that he had been duly caught. So he chuckled and said, "Sure, I'll be there. Good one, Sister Fred." Now, I had scheduled in here that I was life we lead. And the impact it has on our life is also compounded by our ever-evolving environment around us. Now, many women have expressed to me that they feel like a hamster running on a wheel in the middle of LA freeway during the homecoming traffic. It's always coming back at us, just constantly. However, all the marathon's never-ending to-do lists, guilt trips, stress, fatigue, and so much more can be quieted through the use of a mindset in a proactive manner. Or in other words, everyone can feel influence over their schedules as they use their cultivated values as a filter. Now, in the bait and switch story about Brother Johnson, it's evident that his values or priorities are shaped by his ability to clear his impossible schedule. And first, understand that Brother Johnson is a good person. I would even venture that most of us would have probably made is not about judging or telling you what your values should be. And that's really important that you understand that your values are between you and God. Valuation is the mindset that teaches us to, the mindset training of valuation is intended to create awareness so that you can recondition a reactive life, that's where you're, on that hamster wheel, into that of a proactive life. So when have already planned to watch a football game or repair a car, it really doesn't matter. But what matters is that whatever value was filtering out moving the family on Saturday, in other words, what was helping him make that decision, was replaced by his higher value to be entertained for free at a concert that interested him. So our values drive our decisions. Now, remember, I don't want you to get tangled up in the because I want to tell you something, consciously or subconsciously, you filter your to-do list with your values, even if you feel locked into those to-do lists. So I want to tell you I know a young mother that has a husband who is attending law school and works. They are active in church, plus they have 5 kids, all of whom have various different extracurricular activities. Now, she teaches piano lessons to supplement their income. And android or a space alien, and she's not. But she is on her way to a nervous breakdown. She and I had a talk about her schedule the other day, and she said there was nothing she could cut out, nothing at all. It was hopeless. And then I said, what would happen if you got cancer or died? And she got very silent. We both had a close friend recently in common who has a very serious case of cancer. Life events can force us to nurture our values and never getting well. But some continue reaching for the cultural value they have been taught, and other mothers decide to cancel the extracurricular activities so that they will live to attend their children's weddings. Another situation is when the Jews were involved in the Holocaust, they discovered that diamonds were not as important as their sister or their brother, although some sold their friends for better living conditions. Our values are ever present, guiding they're just not aligned with our true objectives. And when the values are out of alignment, so are our decision-making processes and how we spend our time. For example, if my friend, the lady that's, superwoman, wants to avoid a nervous breakdown, which she did, then she needed to make some changes in her schedule. Something had to go. So as we talked about her values, I learned that she felt her house had to be immaculate at all times because her but her learned values drove her to add things like cleaning wall trims and washing her curtains weekly. Now, deep down, she thought her kids would be fine with karate or piano, but everyone else's kids were in 3 things, so she felt like she was slacking. She liked jogging, but she admitted that she didn't like letting her husband help because he didn't clean just the way she liked. So after all of our discussions were through, she admitted that a lot of things would have so that we can obtain filters that will filter our to-do list and become proactive rather than active to life. Well, first, I want you to go through an activity with me, and it's called "And Then You Were Dead." So I want you to pretend right now that you just died in a sudden car accident and that your spirit is standing next to your body. Now you see the paramedics working on your body, and I want you to type in chat, what do you start thinking of right now? When I said that you were just all of a sudden dead, what in your schedule would have to change since you died? And you're looking back on your body. So can anybody type in and what happens? What are you thinking of? Well, while we're waiting for you to type back in, I'll continue the story. As you're standing there, you can feel your spirit come back into your damaged body and you regain consciousness. If you lost the use of your legs, how would that change your schedule? If you ended up blind, how would that impact you? What values and objectives would float to the top suddenly? Now, I know some people who have had near-death experiences, and they say that it completely altered how they think of their values. So I'm going to, somebody said the first thought was, breathe, darn you. And DeLinda said, my kids and husband wanting to see them. So basically what some of these comments are stating to me is exactly what I thought, which is that, what comes to the top of our head is our first value, our family and friends or whatever it is that we hold dear. I can't teach you everything about valuation in this short period of time, but I want to leave you with one other activity that you can do at home. And I've taught this before. It's called mind dumping, or that's my word for it. And it's one of the skills that you learn with valuation. At home, I want you to take a sheet of paper and write down your top 5 values. I want you to take some time to think about these values. And this is the rule. You can have no more than 5 values, and you can have no less than 5 values. In other words, you only get 5. You can't do 4, and you can't do 6. So I want you to keep that in mind. And then on another sheet of paper, I want you to write down everything you have ever wanted to accomplish. Everything you have to do, and everything you feel you need to do, and anything else that has to do with a to-do list that you that I can't think of to tell you, write that down too. So I want this to be an extremely comprehensive list. If you need to, take several days, but make it complete. Now, I want you to use your value list, the 5 that I had you come up with, and really ponder each item on your master list. I want you to think about it from the viewpoint of, what if you died tomorrow? Or what if you had cancer? Or what if you had different things that forced you to have different value sets? Or to bring your values really up to the surface and consciously think about them. So see if unimportant things melt away, leaving only the ones that your values frame up. Valuation takes being honest with yourself. It also takes being able to look at life from an eternal perspective. And sometimes in our lives, as we're just so busy reacting, we get too close to life and forget or don't even know that we have other choices through its concepts. Does anybody else have any questions?
I was trying to see if we had any other comments down here. What would my family do without all of my help? You know, just,
Yeah.
I think those things, especially as moms, is the more that we are doing for our families, wondering, you know, how are they going to do it? And a lot, I think, changes as you have smaller children or grown children, the thoughts that might go through your mind. So
Do
I
understand that I got to answer this question in real life about 13 years ago when I got a debilitating disease that nobody knew what it was. And I ended up in bed, and my kids were teenagers and young. And at that time, I went through a process of trying to push myself to meet everything that everybody needed me to do, to the point where it put me in the hospital, and I had to have a huge blood transfusion, and it was very touch and go for a while. Over my, I would sit in bed and point. Things happen without us. And there's a misconception that we're this element that has to be there for the world to continue on. And that's part of what holds us back in terms of our values and our time management. So I know I'm out of time, but as you go through each of your values and
out.
Yes, I will send them, first of all, I'll send them a copy of the talk. And then the other thing is I've got both the master list and the value list so that they can use those, and I'll put instructions on it. So.
Oh, okay. That would be great. Yeah, I remember when you gave that, when you talked to us before and you gave that, and I got to the 5 value part, but I didn't do the brain dump. If I understand, you look at everything that you're doing, and then you're going to look at it again through the eyes of your 5 priorities.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So yay.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks so much. Okay. I think our next speaker is Missy. So Missy, I'm going to unmute you, and there you go.
Thank you, Delinda. So like Lynn and Lisa, I am a big proponent of storytelling. So I get really excited towards the end of the year. Like Lynn, I'm a geek in the fact that I love goal planning and talking about vision casting and helping others achieve their goals. So the last 3 months of the year, I'm pretty up to my eyeballs in doing goal planning workshops and vision casting and vision boards. and helping people really drill down to what it is they want to accomplish in the next year. And what it is that we really think about for those things. And for me last year in my business was, I just kept getting a message. Have you ever just thought of something and people tell you that, and you're seeing signs of them and things, and you're like, okay, I get the message. And my last year was just really, Missy, 2018 is really your time to go big or go home. Last year and this year to let you know what, this is your year to make it happen. And last year I started a networking group specifically more for a mastermind, and we started going through the book Think and Grow Rich. I've read this book many times. It was required reading when I became certified to be a coach, which I don't really remember reading it, to be honest, at that time. And so I picked the book mainly because Napoleon Hill talks about masterminds. Well, have you ever read a book and then gone back and reread it, and it just slaps you in the face and you're like, wow, did I read this before, or where was I when I read this book, right? And the thing that really popped out to me was not so much about what he talked about masterminds, but when he was talking about a gentleman by the name of Edwin C. Barnes. And that whole story I could see clearly in my head, and it just made such an impact to me in my business last year, along with another book, Simon Sinek's Start With Why. Those two books changed me and the face of my business to a place where it's only January of 2018, and already big things are happening, and it's all about what's up here, right? What we're thinking and what we're seeing to make that happen. So we're all aware, and we stand in a place called here, and we're aware of a place called there, right? The thing is our soul is stirring and yelling and screaming at us sometimes, go over there. Why are you staying here? But oftentimes what keeps us here, one, the fear of the unknown. We don't really know what's over there. It's safe here. I feel comfortable. Another reason we stay here is because we're so concerned about what other people might think about us if we go over there. Sometimes it's like, oh, she's weird. Why is she going over there? We are sometimes held back by what we perceive that other people are thinking. And then we stay here because we don't really know how to get there, right? And so it turns into a because, and we end up following Toto down the yellow brick road, going to see the wizard, trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. And that's not really the direction we want to be taking, right? We want to go there because that's where we're being called to go. But in order to do that, it's going to take a really clear vision on your part on what's going to take you to get there. And that's the thing, when I talk about people with goals and vision, anybody can write a goal down on a piece of paper, right? If you don't have the vision, or you can't see that happening, and you don't know the steps you're going to take to make that goal come true, chances are it's probably not going to happen. I know that for me, I could have easily let my childhood, my teens define my adult life and get fully stuck in a trap. But thankfully for me, I was raised by my dad who, as a small child, my first book that he gave me was Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. Great light read for a little kid, right? It's like I'm reading this book and I'm like, I don't even understand what I'm reading, but My dad gave it to me so cool. My dad was a visionary. My dad was a goal planner. He made things happen. He saw a vision when he was 6 years old when he would play with trucks. He was never the employee. He was always the boss, telling everybody what to do. And that's the role he felt comfortable in from the time he was a child. He bootstrapped his business with $100 and a bicycle when he was 20 years old. And when he sold the business 45 years later, he sold it for millions of dollars. And he always told me growing up, you can do whatever you set your mind to do as long as you can see it clearly in your mind. Now, given when I was a kid, I thought, whatever, I want to be in psychology and I want to be a social worker, and I don't have any desire to ever be an entrepreneur. Well, you know what they say about never saying never, right? So all these years later, going through corporate life and thinking this was where I was supposed to be and having company after company close, I thought, well, what the heck? I'll give it a whirl and I'll just start my own business. And that's when I learned the importance of really being clear about what you want and where you're going. So last year when I started reading the story of Edwin C. Barnes about here's this man, right, who just had this thought, but a thought that had a burning desire behind it for him. Now, he's a man that thought, I want to be business partners with Thomas Edison. Can you imagine what his family and friends must have been thinking? Poor Edwin, he's lost it, right? Who does he think he is? And how many times have you heard that in your own life, right? When I started my business, I had friends that said, what are you doing? You're crazy. Why would you want to have your own business? We move through that because our desire is stronger than the outside noise from that, right? So here's Edwin Barnes, and he's thinking, this is going to happen, and I'm going to make it happen. Now, he had two things against him. Well, probably more than two, but two big ones. He didn't know Edison. He had no money to get to Edison, who was in Orange, New Jersey. But side Thomas Edison as his business partner, not being a worker bee. So he decides that he is going to go get on a train and go blind baggage. Now, back in the day, blind baggage on a freight train basically he was a hobo, as they called him in those days, right? So you can imagine what you look like after you've been on a train for a while, going hobo style. You probably don't look like I'm Edwin C. Barnes, and I want to be your partner in business. Now let's think about this for a minute. That would be like me trying to get in front of Elon Musk, right? And I go into his office and I say, yo, Elon, I want to be your partner in business. I don't want to work here. We're going to be partners. And Elon Musk would probably be like, security, we have a problem, right? Get this wacko not the way he was dressed, because Thomas Edison clearly said, here I was looking at somebody who resembled a tramp, remember he'd been on the train, telling me that he was going to be my business partner. He said, I could tell by his demeanor and his eyes that this was a burning desire and that it was a vision that he held carefully for many years. And he was not going to take no for an answer. remember reading that, and I said, there is a message here for not only me, but so many people that know what they want to do. They know they have a passion. The problem is, we allow sometimes so many things to get in our way to impede us to a place where we're paralyzed, that we can't move forward. And that is what motivates me to be a coach, is because I don't this and never have the opportunity to create something that's so wonderful that he became his business partner. And who would ever think that that would be something that could come true, right? But that just tells you the power that we have in our thoughts and making things happen. Because the reality is, we can do anything we put our mind to do. See, not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance in his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. When Edwin C. Barnes climbed down that freight train in Orange, New Jersey, he may have ascended down the stairs as a tramp, but his thoughts were those of a king. Barnes' desire was not a hope, it was not a wish, it was a keen, pulsating desire, which transcended everything else. It was definite. And I would encourage you to start making definite goals for yourself that have a burning desire. And if you can't honestly say that you're doing something that creates a burning desire in your soul, then please reevaluate what I am seeing that happen in my own life and in my business.
All right. Thank you. Great words. Yes. No, I did not know that story. You had mentioned it in a conversation we had the other day, and I thought, I need to find out what that story is. So thanks for sharing the story. So I would know. And I think both of those books that you mentioned, I've read a couple of times. For those heads up back on those books again. It's really, reading is so powerful. For those of you out there, I'm thinking we might just form a little book club or something, because what you read just feeds your mind. It keeps ideas going. It helps your vocabulary. It helps how you think, and keeps things pulsating in your brain. So I appreciate that. Something that would be cool is, if you have a book that you want to recommend, don't do it here, but go to Fun. Just, made me think about that. So thank you again, Missy.
You're welcome.
We don't have much as far as, I don't see a question here. I think probably what's going to happen is that when we get to the end of the talks, we may have a little time there, and then anyone who has a comment or something that they want to make back to anybody. But do you have something that you have available for the gals tonight?
Yes, so because I am such a goal planning nerd, my give is I would love to offer 30 minutes yet to get your goals together for this year. I would love to help you with that.
Okay, all right, thank you. And now we're going to balloons behind her, Miss Cathy Weaver. So that was pretty cool. First you had
The female, the darling snowman that Lisa made.
yes, and now you have balloons back there. So cool. So Cathy, ready, set, go. You're on, girl.
Well, the challenge I'm having tonight is I've been taking notes so feverishly with these dynamic other speakers that I have writer's cramp now. So I'm going to leave you good night. Thank you very much. One thing I would like to encourage, especially since Lynne started it with storytelling, one of the questions I get a lot with the networking conversation is about competition. And the good news is for any of us who have been blessed to be in DELINDA's networking groups, some of her luncheons and things like that, I don't actually think there's any such word as competition with the Fun Fearless Female, because we are certainly all colleagues and definitely all on the same journey as far as success stories and things like that. One of the things I would like to mention, though, is about a hairdresser who had a fantastically glorious salon. Hopefully many of you have heard this story, but it resonates with me every time I think of the competition word. Had a glorious salon. He had clients everywhere. His life was fantastic. And all of a sudden, one day across the street from him, a chain salon got in there, and there was a big sign on the outside of the store, grand opening, $8 haircuts. Well, the salon owner is thinking, holy moly, my haircuts are worth way more than $8. What am I going to do? And he's fretting and fretting and fretting, and the other chain is up and running, and he's just very concerned about his business. And then he decided, hang on a second. I think I know how to take care of this. So the next day across his salon was a big banner that said, we fix $8 haircuts. And that has helped me remember so much that there is no competition. We are all in this together, and all we have to do sometimes is think outside the box. And I'm very, very serious about this and very passionate. That's what networking has actually done for me. Look at the people on this call. There are people here. What if I'm a coach? What if I am a brainiac? What if I am a goal setter? What if I am a business coach? What if I'm a personal coach? What if I train my team? We're all in this together, and everyone brings a different, I guess you would say, take on it. And one of the things I would like to offer is anyone who wants to have send me a personal message as far as I'm challenged with this topic for networking, or I'd like to learn more about this, or I'd like to have a teleconference like this and I can train your team or your group the next time you have an event. I'm very serious. I'd be happy to do that. I have a PowerPoint that I can actually do. As you see the screen behind me, I can put all the webinar contents of my book on that, and I'm happy to do that. One thing I'd like to challenge, I guess, each of us to do, DELINDA has been terrific to encourage us to have one-on-one meetings once we've had our luncheons. How many times during the one-on-one meetings do you ever say, can you help me? I'm looking for a connection to, or I need a new group for, or where do you think would be a good fit for my business as far as marketing my company? And sometimes if we ask for help, it's a sign of either vulnerability or less than, just like Missy was talking about. Sometimes we get in our own way. And can you help me? I need a new place to go, or I'd like to have a new something, or I'm stuck. And I think a lot of times we're our own best friends, but we can also be our own worst enemies. And I definitely think we have seen that in the networking thing. People have asked for connections to something. I avoid this like the plague because it even happened today. There's some kind of new system on Facebook, DELINDA, and you know that changes daily as far as the algorithms and all that stuff. But now when you're asking for something, it's this big sign that says recommendations. Cathy Weaver needs a recommendation for, and then you get, holy moly, 90 million somethings, and now everybody's mad because you didn't ask my brother-in-law and you didn't want my sister-in-law and all this stuff. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, we cause more trouble than these things are worth. But what happens if you ask for a connection? And to me, that's a very personal conversation. If there's going to be a plumber or an electrician or a cable guy or any kind of person in my house, I want that to be a very personal connection. And when I ask my close-in networking friends for a personal connection, I know that's exactly what it's going to be, not a recommendation from 1-800-GO-PLUMBER. And hopefully, I made a few notes here just so I don't, I stay on task for you so we don't go through a whole lot of things. But hopefully it's someone that you've had a connection with or met through a networking group. Look at the people on this call. These are now compadres. I mean, these are our friends, and many of us have met through a networking experience or a network vendor show or whatever we have met through. And now these are our friends. And that's the part that I love so much as far as what networking has done for me. And think about, even when you go to church, have you ever said to someone that you have met at church, do you have time to meet for coffee or tea or water, or whatever you would like? Do you have time to meet? I don't know much about you. I see you at church every Sunday, but I don't really get to know you just in that hour or two at church. I'd love to meet with you. And I wonder how many of us reach out to do that. And so that's one of my encouragements, because we're all in this together and people are uncomfortable networking sometimes. And that makes me very sad, because networking just means talking. And I guarantee you, if DeLinda unmuted all of these microphones, we would not have a challenge for what to talk about. And ladies are very good at that, which I love. One of the things DeLinda has encouraged us to do in several of the groups is write down our infomercials. When you're in a networking event, sometimes people say, what do you do? Well, I would love it if people would start saying, tell me about you, because I promise you, I am not initially interested in what you do for a living. I am interested in what makes you tick. And as soon as I find out what makes you tick, and that causes a relationship between us, that's going to be an opportunity to talk about your business and what we can do for each other as far as referral marketing or suggestions if someone asks for a recommendation. And so tell me about you is an entirely different conversation than what do you do. The people that are in the Kansas City market know that when DeLinda asks us to talk about something personal, I always jokingly say, I have 4 of the cutest grandchildren on the planet, and if you'd like to see 7,322 pictures of them, I'd love to meet with you for coffee, because that's what we're going to see. And of course, I haven't gotten any takers on the coffee thing, so I guess no one wants to see 7,322 pictures of my grandbabies, but I'm happy to share them. In fact, I'll put them behind me right now, just kidding. But those are the kind of things that people are so fun. That's what they remember, actually, not the water business, not the books, not things like that. They remember the grandchildren. You're the one with all the grandchildren. And I say yes, because that is what, just like Lynne was talking about the storytelling, that's what makes people remember you. And as far as the memorability part, whether they remember you for your cute hair or your darling eyes or your cute glasses or your great jewelry or your name badge or whatever it is, it's a help as far as an identifier. And I would love to know, and I mean this, what is your identifier? What do as soon as you walk in the room, what do people remember you for or as? And that is really, in the networking circuit, it really is a great help to already have that cinched up a bit. And I'm very passionate about the networking conversation, because a lot of times people have said, oh my gosh, don't talk to me about networking. I tried that once. And I'm always like, oh, you tried that once. Okie dokie. And it didn't work for me. Terrific. How many people have said, I tried ABC business and that didn't work for me? Or I tried going to a counselor and that didn't work for me? Or I tried whatever it is and it didn't work for me? And we all know, oh my gosh, all of a sudden that one click happens. And all of a sudden, guess what? It did work for you. If you have a new skill, then you have an opportunity to make that actually work for you. And that's what I love about this networking component, is there's a zillion different ways to do it. And one of the trainings that we took in California, actually, for one of the certifications that I got, the trainer is a multi-gazillionaire, and I'm not kidding. He makes $1 million a month doing what he does, and he's very good at it, needless to say. $1 million a month, I mean it. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's probably gotten a raise over the years that I've known him. But he told us, he challenged us, there's a zillion ways to get from Los Angeles to New York. How are you going to do that? And of course, everybody said, fly, hello. And so you had to be an airplane across the stage. And then how are you going to get back? And so somebody goes, what does that mean? And so now you're going to take a boat. So now you have to row the boat across the stage. And then now you've got to get back again. How are you going to do it? Well, then it was the rollerblades. And then how are you going to get back again? And then you do ice skating. And then how are you going to get back again? Skateboard. And how are you going to get back again? Car. How are you going to get it back again? And by the time you did this about 20 times, and he's forcing, I mean, you don't tell this gentleman no. By the time you get back again, finally you're doing magic carpet, teleportation, and he's stretching the mind. Well, guess what would have happened if everybody stopped when he said airplane, car, you're done. And all of a sudden, what did people remember? The magic carpet, the ice skating, things like that. And I there's a million ways to do this networking thing also, as far as making the connections, getting out there and meeting new people. And DeLinda, I think about this with us. I found Fun Fearless Female in Meetup. I've been teaching, I guess you would say, meetup.com for at least the 10 years I've been doing this business, because that's how I started. And the meetup.com part is even in my book, because when you go traveling, if you get to go different places for your company, you type in meetup.com, whatever location you're in, and type in the zip code. And then you get to go networking with a group of people that would have a similar interest, like classic guitar or jazz music or building whatever you build. And you go there to meet like-minded people, and you're networking again. And I met you through meetup.com. And I think about that all the time. I'd been on it forever, never heard of Fun Fearless Female, and all of a sudden I get an email, Fun Fearless Female in Corporate Woods in Kansas City. And I'm going, hello, what is that? And the rest is history, girlfriend. And that is what networking is all about. And I mean that sincerely. I didn't know a single person on the list that you had for your attendees. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? And the next thing I know, I have made lasting friendships with the girls in that group. Networking just means talking. And like I say, I don't think there's a single person in here that would have a problem doing that. If you came to someone's house, or if you went to a coffee shop, things like that. Now, I don't know how much time I have, DeLinda. If you wanted me to get into 2 minutes, okay. Just to let you know, for the girls on the call, if you do want me to help as far as vendor events or speed networking events, nonprofit marketing, that's a big one for me. What that means is one of our darlings in this, she's still on the call, Karen, I think her phone is muted out, but Karen Reyes is very active in a very large gala in this town, and she collects items for the silent auction. Well, what do people always say when you've got your hand out? I need, do you want to donate anything to the silent auction? Oh, no, I gave it the office, or I don't have any more money in my budget for donations. Guess what? I didn't ask you to give money for a donation. I am giving you the opportunity to market your business in front of 800 plus Kansas City's top professionals. And I'm going to give you that opportunity only one more time, because if you'd like to make a donation, a gift basket, whatever it is, everybody that walks past that table to do the bidding is going to see your logo, is going to see your gift basket, is going to see your book, is going to see your whatever you donate. And sometimes, once again, it's think outside the box. There's a zillion ways to do this. And talk about networking on steroids, pardon this shameless plug, but when you think about that, 800 people just saw your whatever you're donating with your name, your identity, your logo, your whatever you're doing on there, and it's a tax deduction, if disclaimer as far as the CPA stuff, but it's a marketing budget. I mean, I am marketing my business when I do that, so it's not necessarily a donation. It's an opportunity for marketing, and PS, marketing budgets really don't ever go away. Donation baskets are finally empty, yes, but if you're marketing your business, I would imagine you do it all the time. So again, I love networking, and when people tell me networking doesn't work, it always makes me smile. And when they say that, I always say, do you have time for coffee? So thank you very much for letting me be on this call. And I love seeing my Kansas City besties on here. So Charlene is here, and Sue is here, and Holly's here, and Megan and Karen, and it's super, and Tracy and Rebecca. It's just very fun. It's like old home week around here. So thank you, DeLinda, for this opportunity.
Oh, you are so welcome, and thanks for being on here.
Thank you.
So yeah, and that is true. I would venture to say, I'm going to look down here at everybody's here, and some of you I have not personally met yet, but I certainly hope I will soon, whether it's in Kansas City or here in Las Vegas.
If they're the Kansas City ones, they're rock stars. I guarantee it.
And because everyone on here, Missy and I, when we had, we've had lunch and dinner recently, and another coffee as well. We've seen each other several times in the last couple of weeks. We were figuring out that I think, I know I met her at a networking group, and I think it was only about a year ago, could be a little over a year, maybe as far as 18 months, but not longer than that. And I feel like I've known her for years. I mean, we just connected right away. It was awesome. Same way with Jill. I met Jill through Missy, and Jill was also at one of those networking meetings that I went to. Lynne and I were in a group about 2 years ago. So, and Cindy was like at the very first Fun Fearless Female lunch in Kansas City. Never knew her before. Certainly I didn't know you till you walked in. Cathy, to tell a story on Cathy. So she says, wait a minute, how could, when she came into the October meeting, where have y'all been? How are you here? And I said, well, we just started last month. Yeah, but I shouldn't have missed last month because she didn't know it was even there. So it really doesn't. If I went down the whole list here, Rebecca and Sue, and there's not one person on here that I knew prior to networking and meetups. That's just astounding to me. It's like, wow. So, you know, the messages, as Jill would also tell everybody, is go out and meet some friends. But that's what it's really about. Let's just go out and meet some friends, see who's out there, because you just never know how God's going to bless your life by the people you meet. Yeah. That really is what happens. So, all right. So, what else? Let's see. Hi, Delinda. Okay. Oh, so Tracy's from Kansas City. Okay. So, Tracy, I want to see you at one of the lunches coming up.
She's a doll.
So now we have heard from all of our people. Oh, Charlene, yeah, so she's Mrs. Claus, and she is very cool. She actually came to one of the luncheons in her whole attire as Miss Claus. There is such a range of talents here. It's really wonderful how we can connect with each other, and that how it enriches our lives. And you know, if you have a need, like Cathy was talking about, of something, chances are in our group, within the whole Fun Fearless Female group, there's somebody who does what you need. And if not, they know somebody who maybe does. You know, we don't have any plumbers, as far as I know. But you never know, there could be some other things out there. So the interesting thing to me is each one of our speakers tonight, and Cathy, I'm going to go ahead and mute you just because I'm picking up a little sound in there, I think. Okay. As we heard from each of the speakers tonight, from Lynne talking about what kind of stories to tell, and I love the breakdown that you gave on that, Lynne, and from the things that she was talking about, and that everything we do, each one of them talked about choices, that we have a choice in how we want to communicate with people. We have a choice whether we want to go out to meet any new people. We have a choice of, do we want to have any goals? Do we want to try to grab that burning desire that's in our heart? Because I believe, as Missy talks about, we are each born with greatness. You are, every one of us. God's planted greatness inside your soul. And it could be your little girl dream that's way back here on the back burner, and you don't even remember what it is. And yet there's something you know that inside. So I would start exploring that and finding what that is if you haven't yet been able to identify it. Because there is something that we're all called to do. And when you find that, that's the beauty of everything, is really defining that so you can step into your greatness. And many of you have heard me say that, you know, just imagine if every woman could see herself through God's eyes, we would wow the world. And that is really the truth. When you see yourself as this beautiful woman of God that He created you to be, and you start looking at the talents and the gifts that you have to share with the world, your life begins to take on more meaning and everything begins to fall into place. But it does take looking at your values, as Lisa was talking about. What are your core values? What are the most important things to you? And then taking it, once you're realizing that and looking how you're planning your schedule for that. The other thing that I'm going to go back to my notes here because I want to just give me one quick second here. And I love Lisa's word, valuation. I had never had heard that before. I think that's her own word that she's coined for that. But as we begin to explore ourselves, and as we go out and we're meeting people, that it changes our thoughts when we really look at that we're going out to just to get to know people, to build relationship. And that's really what Fun Fearless Female is all about. It is about building relationship for your life. And then it's also going to be as part of your business. But when you're looking to build for your life becomes richer. And then those are the people you want to do business with. I don't do business with people I don't trust. And how am I going to trust anybody if I don't know them and get to know them? So that's why I know sometimes the one-on-one part can sound really scary. But when you realize, because I actually was at a one-on-one in Kansas City not too long ago, and the gal sat down with me and she says, I am so nervous. And I said, well, why are you? And she says, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I said, well, just tell me about you. I just want to know about you. And it takes the scare out of it. And we each have choices to make every day, whether you're going to go out and do things. If you want to build your business, reach out to the people who can help you build your business. If you're at that place and you're just stuck and you don't know what you just don't know what you want. You just know that you want different. You know that this isn't satisfying you. There are other options. I believe there's always another choice. There's always another option. And I guess probably that's the thing that I think is in my top 3 of things that I do well, is that I can look at every situation and tell you where another choice is, because there is always another one. And sometimes you just need ideas. So reach out to somebody to get an idea from. Might be when you're having coffee with any of the gals on here, and just say, you know what? Can I just share something with you? And just share and say, I just need an idea. Do you have an idea? Because it's pretty fun just to share ideas. Mary Kay, many of y'all know I was a Pink Cadillac director with Mary Kay for over 20 years. And Mary Kay, the woman herself, would say, if I have one idea and you have one idea, then we each have one. But if we share them, we now have 2. And if you take that further, the more we share with each other, the better we all get. We each have more ideas. We each have more to share, so our life becomes richer. So I want to thank all of the other speakers who are on tonight. And I'm going to take a quick look here and see what comments we have. If anybody, we do have a couple more minutes. If anybody wants to post a question to any of the other speakers, I will unmute them. I'm going to go in and unmute the speakers in case they would like to, so I don't have to hog it all. Okay, Missy and Lynne and Lisa, y'all are not in order on my screen, so I've got to go find, where's Lisa? Hold a second, she must be on my second screen. There she is. Hey, Lisa. All right, so we have here, thank you, Cathy and Missy, great nuggets. And then Charlene was talking about that she is Mrs. Claus. Any other comments? And ladies, if you have any other comments, we do have, like I said, a few minutes. If you have anything else you'd like to share. Just ready, set, go. Don't be afraid.
I don't have any more comments myself, but I have a question for Lynne. I was wondering, when you're storytelling, is it better to tell, well, not better, I know there's all kinds of situations, but should you try to find other stories about other people and mix that in with stories about yourself, or should you be telling stories about yourself when you're speaking to a group for me, in a workshop or in a seminar? What would you suggest?
And thanks for asking, Lisa. For me, and I'm sure for everybody else here, it's about the other person. And it's also about my goal for the experience. So for example, for almost 4 years, I traveled the country. I know you're going to be really envious, teaching a workshop called Finance and Accounting for Non-Financial Managers. I can hear the snoozes already. And I would start it out with telling people, here's my favorite number story. And it comes from the comedian, Rita Rudner. And Rita talks about being in her high school algebra class, and it's test day. And she's finished her test early, so she's sitting there watching all the other students madly trying to finish their calculations. And the teacher calls time, and everybody passes their papers forward, and Rita's paper ends up on top. And the teacher looks down and realizes that Rita has done none of the equations. Instead, she's written one sentence on the top of her paper, and that is, I'm going to marry someone who knows how to do this. Well, I'm sorry that you haven't married somebody who's going to come in and do all your numbers work for you at the office, but you've done the next best thing, which is to come here to learn how to do it yourself. And who knows, maybe someday somebody will marry you because you know how to do this. Now, that was the best story for me to tell because it let people know that this was not going to be a long, boring thing. I didn't have any particular number story, so I was able to pull Rita's out. So it becomes, what's the goal? And for me, the goal was to help people feel at home and, you know, and understand it's not going to be incredibly dry, so I can get them engaged in it. And since I didn't have my own story that would do that, I looked around for someone else's. And, you know, and as long as you identify the story as not your own and attribute it to whomever it is that it comes from, then I think you're okay. But it becomes what is going to serve the reason for having, you know, the reason for speaking the story and the reason for having the meeting. And sometimes the answer is my story, and sometimes the answer is somebody else's. Thanks for asking.
Thanks.
That's great. Anybody else, any comments? Thoughts? Okay. Well, as I don't see any here. Oh, let's see. Lisa said we could get a copy of her talk. How can we get that?
I'll be emailing it to anybody who, you know, sends a note to me, or I can send it to you, DeLinda, and you can send it out to everybody.
Well, I think you have your email. So if everybody scrolls
Yeah.
back to the top of the chat, everybody's information there. So if you want the free gift from any of the speakers, then just email them and say, hey, I was on the call and I'd love to have your free gift. So then that way we know that you want it, because we do not want to random just send things out to you. If you're interested, great, and we'll send it to you. And if not, that's okay too. Hopefully everyone gained some great insights into a variety of things tonight. I know I certainly did. But send a thing, and I'm just like looking.
Just to let you know, Mary Helen Keller is the one who asked that question. She's a rock star from Kansas City, and she just started her new business, so it might be awesome for her to have Lisa's information. So that really is going to be a fantastic connection.
Yes, and yes, I got to have a one-on-one with her.
Yeah,
So
she's
very
great.
cool. Yeah, you're right. She is, and I'm wishing her the best. It's going to be great in her new business. But everybody has an email. I assume all of y'all know mine. I didn't put it up here. Of course, I tend to do that, don't I? So I am DeLindalane.com, LAYNE. Just so y'all know, I'll put my email address up there. And I have a special free gift that I'm not telling anybody what it is. So if you want a surprise from me, then you can send me a message and I will send you your surprise. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Speakers, thank you. You were awesome. We will be on every month, the last Monday. So sometimes a month will have 5 Mondays. So if it has 5 Mondays, that's the Monday we'll be on. Otherwise, it'll be the 4th. And I will have different speakers sharing each month. So tune back in. I hope you'll come. Leave some messages if you don't mind. If you liked it tonight, if you felt it was beneficial, leave it on the Fun Fearless Female community or on my personal page as well. But particularly go to the Fun Fearless Female community and post your thoughts. And if there's any way any of us can be of help to you, let us know. Remember this, life is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Choose wisely, go out, make it a great week, and make a difference as you go.